Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for joining me. Awesome show planned for you today. It's going to be magnificent. We had a lot of fighting going on in football this weekend. And I actually halfway enjoyed it. There were football fights everywhere in the professional game, in the college game. And I got a whole take on that. We're going to bring Coach JB on the show shortly. Jason Brown, Last Chance Q, Last Chance U. You guys know Jason Brown, friend of the show, the Real JB show with Big Smitty. He's going to be here shortly to talk a little bit about Trevor Lawrence and just about all the fighting in football. Steve Kim will be here. Butter, of course, is here in studio with me. Shemeka Michelle will be at the back end of the show. But before I get into my football take, I want to tell you guys you need to join the Fearless Mission. Go to fearlessmission.com, use the promo code Fearless40, and you can save $40 on your yearly subscription. You can get everything we're doing here with Fearless, everything going on at the Blaze. Please, fearlessmission.com, use the promo code Fearless40. Become a subscriber. It's important. It's the best thing you can do to support this channel, me, and the Fearless movement. All right, let's go to the football brawls. And I thought it was going to be Michigan, Ohio State. That was the big football brawl of the weekend. But then it got overshadowed by what went on with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback for the Jaguars, taken out with a brutal hit by some dude named Shazier. Oh my God. I mean, what a brutal hit. I can remember we would see hits like that in my younger days, and we'd go, he got jacked up. And we would celebrate this, and it's the price of playing football. What I find fascinating about all of this is the propaganda campaign that has led us to look at this, things we used to enjoy, and now we're repulsed by it. And now everybody is calling for this Shazier guy to be suspended, including myself. My initial response watching that hit was like, oh man, they got to sit this guy down for as long as Trevor Lawrence is down. If Trevor Lawrence misses 3 games because he's in concussion protocol, so does this Shazier. He needs to sit down for 3 games without pay. He needs to be out as long as Trevor Lawrence. And then I sat around and thought about it in totality and thought, I used to love this. You lay someone out, you put someone in the protocol, you make someone see stars and have to exit the game. You've done your job as a defender, and as a football fan, I appreciated it. So what happened? How did I get here? How did we all get here to look at something we used to enjoy and now look at it and go, oh, it turns my stomach. You can argue that it's progress. You could argue that we had a reprobate mind as it related to football and the violence we witnessed in football, and now we've come to a new enlightenment and we should be repulsed. And maybe that's true. But I move more towards, you're not going to take out the toxic masculinity from football and from men and from competitive sports. And so I look at it as what we witnessed this weekend in college football and in professional football. It's like the return of masculine energy. And I know the linebacker for the Houston Texans has a history. They put together a list of, he's like the new Burfict. Remember, what was his name, Andrew Burfict or Burfict that played linebacker for the Cincinnati Bengals?
Yeah.
He's like the new Burfict, this Algier, whatever his name is for the Texans. He's the new Burfict. the face of villainous football and the guy that can't be controlled and trust. They're going to find this guy. They're going to sit him down. He's going to get punished very harshly. If you go look at other hits he's been involved in, including grabbing, jabbing Tom Brady by the throat, there's a little laundry list on this guy. But at the end of the day, I think this is a lesson about you can try all you want to remove masculinity, even toxic masculinity, but there's always going to be a desire for it. There's always going to be an impulse to be toxically masculine. And football used to be the venue. Football and boxing used to be the venue. Hey, here's a 100-yard field going this way, and I think maybe it's 50 yards wide. I don't even know the dimensions of a football field. But it used to be like, okay, guys, run out there in between these white lines on this 100-yard football field. Be as toxically masculine as you want to be. And then when you go back on the other side of those white lines, return to normalcy. There used to be this outlet for toxic masculinity. And I thought it was healthy. That I know for me as a young boy, I needed a venue to vent and to be toxically masculine. And if I didn't have that venue of football and competitive sports, I could have channeled that energy the wrong direction. And so I know we're sitting here, hey, look, man, Trevor Lawrence could have been paralyzed. Trevor Lawrence could have had his career ended. All these bad outcomes. But Trevor Lawrence is getting paid a lot of money. He knew the risk he took. This is what goes along with football. And I know they've changed the rules. And I know this guy's going to be punished. But I'm not sure if we've really made progress. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if my new reaction of, oh, that's gross, oh, they got to fine this guy, oh, this has to be eliminated from football, I'm not sure if that's the right conclusion. And I say that really as it relates to, because let's go to Michigan, Ohio State, and some of these other rivalry college football games that transpired this weekend that ended with on-field chaos and a little brawling after the game. And so Michigan, Ohio State is arguably, the most heated rivalry in college football. I would think Alabama, Auburn would have something to say about that, but I'm from the Midwest. I'm a bit of a Michigan fan. There's nothing more heated than Michigan, Ohio State in a football matchup. And I didn't like the reaction afterwards to this game and this brawl that took place because Michigan tried to plant a flag at the 50-yard line of this game. I didn't like the reaction of Michigan went out to midfield with their flag, looked like the guy came from the end zone and carried the flag, and then Ohio State went and confronted them. And that's when all hell broke loose. And someone, I think Jack Sawyer, took the flag away from the Michigan guy and stomped on the flag. And what I didn't like was everybody was demonizing Ohio State. Everybody, hey, you guys had a 60-minute football game. If you wanted to confront Michigan and be physical with them, you had a 60-minute football game to do it, and you didn't do it. You lost in a close game. You were the number 2 ranked team. Michigan was, 7-4, I think, going into the game, or 6-4 going into that, or 6-5 going into that game. Whatever Michigan was. Michigan was out of the playoff race. Michigan wasn't in contention for the Big Ten. Michigan was a 23, 24-point underdog, and Ohio State should have taken care of business on the field. And Ryan Day didn't do a good job controlling his team, and this is embarrassing for Ohio State. I completely disagree. Completely disagree. And I'm a Michigan fan. I root for Michigan in the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. One of my first jobs as a sports writer was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, covering the Fab Five. My college football head coach, Paul Shadell, was a longtime Bo Schembechler assistant coach. Our Ball State football program was based entirely on the coaching philosophy of Bo Schembechler and the Michigan Wolverines. Those who stay will be champions. That was a Bo Schembechler slogan at Michigan. It was a slogan at Ball State University under Paul Shadell. I'm a Michigan fan. I do not see Michigan as some sort of innocent victim in Ohio State as the bad guys as it relates to this scrap between them after the game. You bring a flag and try to plant it at midfield, and you're basically coming out there, hey, we're going to troll Ohio State. We just diminished their chances of winning the national title. We just took them out of the Big Ten race. We just embarrassed them. Now we're going to go out here with our flag and troll them after the game. Ohio State had no choice but to come out and confront those guys. Just, you got all that young, male, toxic testosterone energy flowing around on a football game. They just got embarrassed. You trolled them. You wanted a confrontation, and you got one. There are no good guys and bad guys in this deal. And hats off to the Big Ten or whoever fined Ohio State and Michigan both $100,000. They're equally wrong here. And college football, in all likelihood, is going to have to do something about the whole flag planting deal. This can't be a tradition. It's going to spark these types of foot brawls. Now, take what happened in Jacksonville and the Texans. That foot brawl was sparked by a dirty hit. Got no problem with that. I don't have a problem really with any of this upon further reflection. I actually think it's a good time, and it's a good thing, and it's a reflection of the time that we're living in. When you have, the country has spent 40 years, 50 years, and it's been really intense the last 10 years, trying to emasculate men, trying to remove all masculinity, telling men, you're the bad guys, you're the problem with everything. Well, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I think we're in a time where men are letting their balls drop again. And some of that ball dropping won't look good. It won't be perfect. It will be toxically masculine. But you brought this on us. The elimination, the demonization of masculinity, the masculinity that made America great, and we demonized it. Well, here's the boomerang effect. There's going to be some toxic masculinity, and we're going to have to grit our teeth and deal with it. Because the way we have feminized this country and made men ashamed of being men, and told men they need to get in touch with their feelings, and you need to emote more, and you need to lean into your emotions. Well, lean into this right hook. I can't, because I'm telling you, Saturday and Sunday, as I watched these things play out, my immediate reaction was like, oh man, that's not good. Upon further reflection, I'm like, I'm good with it. I'll take another round of that next weekend. At least these guys care. And I'm talking about, there were 3 or 4 brawls in college football, and I was like, I literally thought rivalries no longer mattered because everybody's just a mercenary. Everybody's just looking for a paycheck. The guy that plays at North Carolina, if a check's good enough at North Carolina State, he'll go to North Carolina State. The guy playing at Florida, he'll go wherever. I actually thought rivalries didn't matter. I thought name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal had killed rivalries. I want to be consistent here. I haven't liked the way the NBA has been emasculated. They don't fight anymore in the NBA. And we just had the coach of the Boston Celtics. Why is his name escaping me? He's my favorite coach. The coach of the Boston Celtics. Isn't his name Joe? What?
Yeah, it's like an Italian name for a black dude.
Joe Mazzulla. Yeah, I'm pretty, or it's certainly, yeah, Joe Mazzulla, I think. He just came out and said, hey, in the NBA, we need more fighting. And what he's talking about is we need more tension. We need more guys that actually care enough to fight. So I wanted to start there. We'll get JB's take on it next. Butter will chime in as well. And then we'll get to Steve Kim, talk about the rest of the sports world and things that went on. Fascinating weekend in college football, fascinating weekend in pro football. I think we got some real clarity on the NFL MVP race. I think we got a hell of a debate as it relates to the college Heisman Trophy. And I think we're inching very close to Butter being proven right about Russell Wilson. And an amazing development. Butter may be right about Russell Wilson. He looked spectacular this weekend. We'll talk about that and a lot more today. Before we get to Coach JB, I want to talk to you guys about how you can bank on yourself. We've been brainwashed into believing the only way to grow our money for retirement is to risk it in the stock market. That's not true. You can reach your financial goals and dreams without taking any unnecessary risk. Bank on yourself is a better way to grow and protect your hard-earned money with guaranteed predictable growth and retirement income with no luck, skill, or guesswork required. Your plan doesn't go backwards when the markets tumble. Both your principal and growth are locked in. You get access to your money for any purpose with no questions asked and no government penalties or restrictions on how much income you can take or when you can take it. You can't do that with a 401k or an IRA. This is the strategy famous businesses like Mickey D's, McDonald's use when no banker would lend them a dime, and almost anyone can do it. Perhaps the best reason of all, you'll know the minimum guaranteed value of your retirement savings on the day you plan to tap into them and at every point along the way. You can get a free report with all the details on how the Bank on Yourself strategy adds guarantees, predictability, and control to your financial plan. Just go to bankonyourself.com/fearless. That's bankonyourself.com/fearless. Coach JB, next.
Your brain, exploit yourself for gain, exceed your own expectations, expose your every flaw, explain to one and all how to excel in every situation. But don't put an X in my Christmas, 'cause Jesus is the reason for it all. Yes, Santa Claus is cool, but when I celebrate my Yule, it's about that baby in the manger, and not how I deck my halls. Don't put an X in my Christmas, oh, 'cause Xmas in my world will never do. But if you have to put an X in something, then Twitter's got an X that's just for you.
All right, America's favorite ex-quarterback. Is he really? Or maybe he's America's favorite ex-junior college football coach. Or maybe he's America's favorite loudmouth on YouTube. Coach JB joining us. JB, welcome back to the show. JB, I'm going to do an investigation. I want to start here. I'm going to do an investigation on your house. You got the nicest house in California, and I'm going to send some IRS investigators how you're doing this, how you put this all together. I saw
Insider trading.
Yeah, insider trading. What's going on there? But JB, man, you got the best cooking show on the internet. Every time I watch it, I think I gain 2 pounds. But man, I love your house.
Hey, Elon's going to take the IRS out, so I'm good. I'm good.
JB,
hey, you won't come and eat, though. You won't come and eat, though, so it doesn't matter.
I'm coming. Listen, I'm coming because I got to be in a wedding in Las Vegas right after Christmas. And so I'm going to stop in L.A. on my way to or post leaving Vegas. I'm December 28th is the wedding, which is going to, if Dion and Colorado play in the Alamo Bowl, that's on the 28th, and that means I can't go to that game. I'll talk about that tomorrow. I may send a couple of listeners to that game on my dime here. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Anyway, let me get down to
I think they're going to play right here in California.
Oh, you think they're going to play in the Holiday Bowl?
Against Miami.
Really?
My prediction.
Walk
yeah,
me through
of course.
that scenario.
Because Dion's already said Shedeur and Travis is going to play. They're not going to sit out and opt out under my watch, and that's going to force Cam Ward to play a meaningless bowl game, which hopefully will change the landscape again and make players play postseason games as they all should. That's what we signed up to do. So hopefully Dion can be actually the advocate for getting guys to play again. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Miami's going to play Colorado because Miami's horrible on defense. And can't wait to have Steve on tomorrow. They're atrocious. And Colorado scores points. So it'll be a 65-60 game.
Cam Ward versus Shedeur. And you're saying this in the Holiday Bowl.
Yep, San Diego, California. Mark my words.
Interesting. I love San Diego. JB, I brought you on to talk about the Trevor Lawrence hit. We chatted briefly last night. Your thoughts, people were calling, including myself, initially calling for a long suspension here for the Texans linebacker. What's your take?
Incredibly short-sighted take by you, Jason. I'm surprised. Shannon hit me up, and Shannon was surprised in your take, too. Shannon was like, can you believe Jason went this way? I had a viral video go crazy. It's got 3 million views on Twitter because I simply said, when are we going to start making quarterbacks part of the 22 players that wear pads on the football field? Last I checked is we all have pads and helmets on, and stop with the defenseless player thing. When the quarterback left the pocket, he's now a running back, Jason, contrary to belief. Why is he protected and no one else is? And what is the defender supposed to do? You can blame your hero, Jason, Patrick Mahomes, who's the most overrated quarterback in the history of the NFL. You can blame him because he sneaks and takes extra steps all the time, Jason, and gets extra yards knowing defenders won't hit him. That has set this precedent. It has set the defense up for failure. I'm a former quarterback. I've coached multiple quarterbacks in college and the NFL. This is not how you're supposed to play the game that we all signed up for. Make the quarterback part of the game. Take the slide out of football. You are in a no-win situation on defense, and the quarterback, just because we pay them more money, is protected by the conglomerate, by the corporate American sponsor, and by Roger Goodell. This is a bad look for football. It's only going to get worse unless we take the slide out and make him part of the game. Because he slid way too late in what we call the point of no return, Jason. And that is what we use as a buzzword in coaching. You are sliding in the point of no return. You're 6'6", 240 pounds, Jason. Do you know how fast 6'6" creeps up on you when you slide? And that defender now is at the first down marker. So what if he does an okey doke like the kid did at Pittsburgh in college 2 years ago and faked the slide and runs by him? It's on ESPN as the play of the week. But now we're trying to suspend a guy and fine a guy for playing defense in the NFL. Make it make sense. Stop defending this. We are making this soft. And this is a football game played by gladiators. Apparently, I thought were gladiators that wore pads that signed on the dotted line that said, you know what, I know the risk when I signed up in junior youth Pop Warner football 20 years ago. I know what I am doing. This is what it is. Stop making it 11 versus 10. Let's make it 11 on 11 again. Make the guy either, go to the bathroom or get off the pot, Jason. You got to make a decision. And by the way, Trevor Lawrence could have ran out of bounds at the first down marker as well, Jason. And guess who was out there? Number 20, a corner that don't want to tackle anyone anyway. But you chose to go against one of the thumpers in the NFL, one of the hardest hitting safeties in football, and now expect you expect to be sulked over? No, man. Take your butt over to the sideline to number 20 who won't tackle you anyway. Don't go inside to Sean Taylor, Ed Reed. They're going to hit you. That's what they do. I'm totally against it. I'm a quarterback.
Listen, here's where I think you're right. And again, my tweet in real time or my post on X in real time, probably not my best work. But here's where you're right. And upon further review, where I ended up landing is just like, hey, man, I get the NFL is paying these quarterbacks $40, $50, $60 million a year. And they don't want their $50 million a year investment on the sideline, standing around in concussion protocol. I get it. But if the guy that's getting the most money is taking the least amount of risk, that's a bad recipe that will create some disharmony in the locker room. And just, again, you're 1,000% right. Hey, we all signed up to play tackle football. One guy, because of the position he plays, will get paid $50 million, while I'm a linebacker getting paid $10 million, and he has to take less risk than me. It makes no sense. That's where I think you're really on solid ground.
Jason, here's the issue, too. It's on you to protect yourself in a game of gladiators. You're wearing the pads and you make the money. Guess what? If it was me, contrary to belief, I'm protecting my money that you just paid me. In Trevor Lawrence's case, $212 million or whatever. I'm going to be pretty smart and protect myself if I'm allowed to, but per the rules. Now, the rules now not only allow me to protect myself, but they allow me now to do these things nonchalantly, like Patrick Mahomes has been doing for the last few years, which has only allowed Pandora's box to open up and become even bigger than it is. You can't put the paste back in the tube, Jason. This is the problem we have. You've allowed it, you started it, you created it. Now all of a sudden, you want to renege and go backwards and start to talk about, well, it's unfair. No, it's not. He's a running back at 6'6", 240. By the way, Josh Allen drops his shoulder and runs that dude over, Jason. See, that's the thing. We got guys that will drop their shoulder and run over a guy in Josh Allen or run by you in Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray. But now we're expecting the defensive guy to make a snap decision on who the quarterback is and how I'm supposed to gently lay him down. And I can't tackle him. I can't put my body weight on him. All these rules, and you're expecting me to do it in a bang decision at 6'6", 240? By the way, Trevor runs 4'6". He's not running 5'5". He's not Tom Brady. He's running up on you and sliding at a split-second moment. The referees don't understand biomechanics, Jason. Either do the DraftKings and FanDuel fanboys out here betting on these guys. They never played the game. They don't coach the game. They have no idea how biomechanics work and how a human body can't just stop when they're already lateral and parallel to the ground and just avoid a guy. By the way, Trevor Lawrence didn't get concussed by the hit. He got concussed by hitting his head on the turf. And that was by a forearm shiver to the pad, if you watch the play. There's no contact by the head. There's no crown-to-crown contact. There was no targeting call made. There was no penalty made, Jason. Why now does everybody want this guy out of the league? To me, we are creating a narrative that is only getting, to your point, worse and worse by protecting a guy making $50, $60 million, but then we're going to find a guy making $7 million and for making a football play. It just makes no sense. And we've already created this, Jason, in the locker room. This has been going on by overpaying under-deliverers. Trevor Lawrence is an under-deliverer, and he's been overpaid, just like Dak Prescott and 98% of the NFL quarterback position. They're overpaid under-deliverers, and now we want to protect them in the softest era of football we've ever seen. And then we expect these guys to be worth the money. No, you can't have everything your own way. Jason, this is player empowerment, and we are now empowering players to now get away with anything they want to do in the softest culture I've ever seen on the grass, on the gridiron. This is it. And I think it's bad for football.
Go ahead.
I disagree.
Butter wants to jump in here.
Hey, Coach JB, it's your boy Butter here. Always a longtime fan of your hat game. Always a fan of that. I would go one step further, and I just wanted to ask you this question. Don't you think that the rule itself is actually promoting these types of hits? Because the quarterback is, they're taking advantage of it at times, but he is sliding, not protecting himself because he thinks he's protected by the rule, and he's actually making him, these plays are subjecting them to these types of hits as opposed to protecting themselves. Don't you think the rule is actually promoting this kind of outcome?
Yeah, I just led into my show with my lead-in was to get rid of the slide. You have to take the quarterback slide out of football. If you don't, you're only creating this, and it's only going to get softer because the quarterback's going to make more money. And then eventually, when are you going to put flags on the quarterback? That's coming up next, right? I'm just saying, take the slide out, because if you don't, then this is what it becomes. Or you protect him in the pocket like a punter is, and he can't get hit, or the punter is protected in the pocket just as the quarterback is. So if you're going to leave the pocket, quarterbacks, no holds barred. You're open game. You are fish in the sea. You can be caught at any time. Go let him at least make that rule change. Because without that rule change, the NFL defense is at an all-time susceptible fine, target, or ejection era. They're going to get kicked out of the game. They're going to get fined. They're going to have a bad resume. Now this guy has a reputation, right? Now we got a reputation for hitting Trevor Lawrence. No, he played football, and the guy slid into him.
It's a little deeper than that. I want to play you the little Azeez Al-Jair highlight collection of his dirty hits. Let's play that clip. But I do like, we're playing that clip. There's him going to Brady's throat. But I do like the inference of, hey, man, you're protected in the pocket. If you want to come out here and play in the jungle or in the Serengeti, there's some lions out here. You're on your own, buddy. And that would keep quarterbacks in the pocket. And we went through an era where Peyton Manning and Tom Brady played from the pocket, and people loved it. People loved Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. The NFL was as popular as ever with these guys playing from the pocket. They put together Hall of Fame careers. All this hey, let me go out of here and let me slide and not be a football player stuff. I do think you're on rock solid ground, but this Azeez Al-Jair is the new Andrew Burfict. Did I get Burfict's first name right?
Vontez Burfict.
Vontez Burfict. There we go.
Who I coach, by the way. Who I coach, by the way. Jason, I got to be honest. I got to be real here. This right here, every play that I just watched that everyone's saying dirty, we've become numb to football, and now we call that dirty. Nobody called Ronnie Lott dirty. Andre Dirty Waters dirty when he played for the Eagles. Nobody called Sean Taylor dirty when he hit the guy in the Pro Bowl. See, we've been numb to football as being a gladiator sport, which everyone in America loved to watch on a Sunday, Monday, or Thursday. Now we watch it and make excuses as to why they're better. Their DraftKings guy didn't get him 25 draft points because he got hurt. And we've allowed betting to control so much of this that we've softened the game so much to the common eye that now when we go out here and watch football being played by a guy who wants to hit and do what we signed up to do, we call him dirty. I think it's a horrible narrative to call a guy dirty who was just playing football, as we all did growing up, and it was just normal, get up, call the penalty if you hit him out of bounds, which we always used to do. Okay, 15-yard penalty, protect the quarterback by his O-line running over there and starting a little fight, and we're back to playing the next play. Nowadays, we want to fine you, suspend you, cry about it, put it on social media. That's just football to me, man. I wish we had more of those guys in the NFL. And that's the problem. We now are so soft in America that we think this is bad for football. But that's what happens when you think women should coach in the sport.
JB, one of your best performances among a lot of great performances on this show. Thank you so much for making the time.
Hey, and
go
all
ahead.
the fights
you got a final thought?
All the fights yesterday in college football, it's for the gram. Just throwing that out there. It's all for the gram. It's all for the gram. You know dang well it's all for the grams. None of those guys were even recruited by those schools, Jason. They've been to 5 schools already. They don't care about those rivalries. It's for the gram. I'll leave you with that.
Thank you, JB. Great job as always. Great take from JB.
Makes a lot of sense. I agree with 100%.
Occasionally he makes good sense. He gave us something to think about. All right, before we get to Steve Kim, I want to tell you guys about Prize Picks. It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Now let's see what my mother, Mama Whitlock's picks are. My mom, huge football fan, and she sent me some of her picks for tonight's Monday Night Football game. Jameis Winston, more than 230 passing yards. Good pick, Mama. I like that. Bo Nix, more than 20.5 rushing yards. Not so sure about that. Javonte Williams, more than 36.5 rushing yards. Solid pick. Download the Prize Picks apps today. Use the promo code FEARLESS and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Steve Kim, the Korean Cosell. Next. Stephen A. Smith's show just told the entire audience that Stephen A. Smith knows nothing about football. And Shannon Sharp is the final authority on football on Stephen A. Smith's show.
Hello.
He just emasculated Stephen A. Smith on his own show, and Stephen A. Smith took it. I've never said that, Shannon. I know you know more football than I do. If this were a prison scene, Shannon Sharp just told Stephen A. Smith, grab my belt loop and walk around, don't lose track of me. You're my prison. That's what he just did on Stephen A. Smith's own show. Some of you, this is disloyal. Stephen A. Smith has given Shannon Sharp an opportunity. Fox let him go. Stephen A. gives him the opportunity. You all know nothing about Stephen A. Smith, how he operates, how fraudulent he is, how lazy he is. Shannon Sharp now knows firsthand. He's living it every day, and it just eats at his brain.
Yeah, 모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Reason that I'm back is to feed you raps and I see that you are 배불러 So fly.
All right, welcome back. Time for the Korean Cosell. Steve Kim, let me start here. Something I didn't warn you about, but I want to start here. I got problems. You know, Oklahoma State laid an egg and got beat 52-0 by Deion Sanders. All the good mojo and prayers I sent Oklahoma State's way had no effect, did not work, and I got problems. I need to go to this bowl game, but if they play in the Alamo Bowl as projected, that's on the same day as a wedding I'm participating in Las Vegas. And so I'm in a lot of trouble. Now, JB is telling me he thinks Colorado's going to play the U in San Diego in the Holiday Bowl. Have you heard that? And what do you think of that matchup?
You know, I heard the thing. Here's the issue, though, Jason, and I'm being realistic. If Miami does not make the playoffs and there still is outside chance, even after that horrific, tragic loss at the Dome on Saturday, I believe Cam Ward and numerous players will opt out. They're going to start getting prepared for the National Football League draft. In essence, what Florida State was last year, where their players were jumping ship, it kind of reminded me of Escape from Saigon when all those last Vietnamese were trying to get on the American helicopters. That's what it would be like. I don't see Cam Ward playing in anything other than a college playoff game. I know that Coach Prime, to his credit, has said, hey, our guys are going to play. I love that. I'm not so sure that applies to any other school that outside of Boulder, Colorado.
Look, Deion may be saying that to try to get an invitation to the best bowl possible, but you think Cam Ward would turn down an opportunity to square off against Shedeur in a game that would be billed as deciding who the first quarterback taken in the draft is?
I think that's a great storyline, but Jason, does that even matter anymore? Look, he's put 12 games of tape out there. He had a really good regular season. He'll probably be in the top 5 in the Heisman voting. Look, this all started with Christian McCaffrey, and then it's only snowballed. And now I'm seeing players from Georgia opting out of bowl games to hit the portal. Coach JB was right about this. This is only the beginning of a slippery slope. And to be perfectly frank, with the way Cam Ward has performed, what he's meant to the program, I don't necessarily blame him because for the Miami program, I believed in year 3 with everything in place, Mario Cristobal had to win the ACC and then make a playoff, and that's a successful year. That loss on Saturday was a kick in the gut to the program and all of us fans. I just feel as though it's one of those losses where the players mentally check out. And everyone's going through scenarios now, praying for an SMU victory over Clemson, and we're lining up the resumes of Alabama, who's probably fighting for that 12th spot, taking a look. You know what this reminds me of, Jason? Looking at the election coverage on the night of November 5th, when it wasn't looking good for Miss Harris, those pundits on all those liberal networks were talking about all these pathways to victory. And I'm thinking to myself, no, it's not going to happen. I mean, even after Pennsylvania, they were like, well, you never know. We know. In my view, Miami is not making the playoffs. The season is essentially over, and Saturday, unfortunately, is the last we'll see of Cam Ward as a Miami Hurricane.
Moving on, what did you think of the hit on Trevor Lawrence? Coach JB just had a fascinating take here on the show defending the Texans linebacker, saying we're all overreacting and this guy shouldn't be suspended. Your thoughts?
When he puts it that way, I don't disagree. By the way, people saying it's the worst hit they've ever seen. Someone put on my Twitter feed, and I forgot his name, but I want to thank him because I remember this in 1988. Steve Puller was the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. It was the last year of Tom Landry. And he went outside the pocket, and he was about a split second late in sliding, and Mike Singletary just blew him up. And guess what? Nothing really happened. It was a penalty. And I remember a few years ago, Jason, it was when Pitt was in the ACC title game, and Kenny Pickett, he had a 60-yard run. And his last move, he started to fake a slide. and all the defenders let up, and then he put on the brakes and he broke out to the outside. And they've actually put in a rule in college saying you cannot simulate a slide. I'll be honest with you. If anything like that happened to Buddy Ryan, he would have a flat screen TV on Monday. And he said the next time any quarterback goes outside the pocket and you light him up, this TV here is yours. I actually agree with them. The way we are now legislating the game actually puts defenders in peril. And they don't know whether to rush a guy, blow a guy up, or let a guy get another 7-8 yards. The way JB says it, I think, is really correct. Jason, you, JB, Ed Reed, Peyton Manning, Trevor Lawrence, you all knew what you were getting into when you played football. It's a rough, violent game. Even now, even this version of it, it takes a special human being to do it. I'm going to relate this back to boxing, my field of expertise, supposedly. You ever seen any of those video montages, Jason, of the 70s and 80s? Those referees would literally let guys almost, I don't want to say killed, but they used to let them take beatings before they would wave the fight off. I mean, you watch a fight from that era and you'll be like, why didn't they stop that 30 seconds before? Because if you were on your feet, that referee was just saying, hey, protect yourself. And then in that era, when you'd get knocked down on the canvas, you know what they would do? They would actually just really slowly count to 10, hoping you'd get up. Nowadays, most of the times, fights are waved off. They don't even give you the mandatory 8 sometimes. They're like, you know what, it's over. But you know what, though, Jason? There are still casualties in modern-day boxing. Every year, even in amateur boxing with headgear and bigger gloves, people still die. It's still a dangerous sport. And guess what? Those boxers will tell you, we want to do this. They're not drafted into this. They know what they're getting into.
I just watched the Mike Singletary, Steve Pelluer hit with Dan Hampton at his legs. And just think about how celebrated Mike Singletary was, how respected Mike Singletary was. And we're now taking this Aziz Al-Jair and we're demonizing him and calling him one of the worst people on the planet when we actually love that about Mike Singletary. You know, he'd do interviews afterwards about what a tough guy he was and how respected he was. We really have. There's been something done to our brains. We've been convinced of something that perhaps isn't true. Steve, what were your thoughts on the college football fights this weekend?
You know what? I'm surprised by your reaction, Jason, the immediate one, because, you know, we always say it's the NIL era. These guys don't care. It's an apathy. That it's not about the logo on the helmet. It's about the name on the back. It's the selfishness. There's no more passion. I enjoyed seeing it. I actually said to myself, wow, already after November 5th, we're making footballs great again. This is, I said, you know what? That Michigan and Ohio State is the most heated rivalry, I think, right now in college football, even more than Auburn, Alabama, and some of the other ones because of the dynamics at play. The Jim Harbaugh situation, Connor Stallions, the heat on Ryan Day, and the fact that Ohio State, according to a lot of people like me, had the best roster in football, and they didn't get it done. And when I saw this, I said, you know what? Those kids still give a doggone. I actually liked it, Jason. Do I think some of it needs to be curbed? Yeah, I guess. But this flag planting at Ohio State is nothing new. I remember back in 2017, Oklahoma went up to Columbus. They went up to the Horseshoe, and they pulled a pretty big victory. And I think Lincoln Riley's first year there. And this was not immediately after the game, so it's a little bit different. But Baker Mayfield got the big OU flag, pranced around the whole field, and then planted it. Now, the difference is there was no Ohio State players around. They had already gone in to the locker room. But we can't have it both ways and say that these kids don't care, there's no more passion, it doesn't mean enough, and then completely rip that. I think, to me, that put an exclamation on a great historic game for the Michigan Wolverines. Hail to the victors.
Hey, Jason, Steve, I want to tell you guys a quick little story about this. And territorial in the way Jason is, last week there was a bit of a controversy here in the studio. somebody stole and ate 2 of Jason's muffins that were in the refrigerator.
What?
Now that was his territory. Somebody came in and ate the 2 muffins, and Jason didn't fight. He didn't say anything. He just let it go. So I guess what he's saying is when they come plant the flag, they're supposed to be able to do that, and you're not supposed to retaliate. You know?
Listen,
Yeah,
I'm someone. Go ahead, Steve.
I guess. I mean, what Jason should do is now, this is me. I'm more petty than Tom or Richard. Now, here's what you do if you're Jason, okay? Bring in other muffins, but then put some laxative in it. And just say, okay, you want my muffins? Go ahead, deal with the consequences. That's what I would do, though. That's just me.
No one would claim responsibility. I found that very interesting. Everybody denied that it was them.
Buffgate.
Yeah, it's. I may hire a private investigator to get to the bottom of that. All right, Steve, let's move to the National Football League, and we'll stick here for a minute. There are some additional college stuff that I want to get to, but fascinating weekend in the National Football League. My Chiefs continued their lucky streak with an assist, I thought, from Antonio Pierce. He didn't challenge a spot on in the third quarter that I thought could have easily been overturned. And then at the end of the game that no one's really talking about is Pierce had a chance to punt the ball and punt the Chiefs deep with about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game. Instead, he tried a 58-yard field goal. They missed. They played good defense and ended up getting the ball back with 1:56, and they were driving, and then, false start or whatever happened with the center, and they ended up losing the game. But I just thought Antonio Pierce's decision-making, because if he punts them deep, they go 3 and out, he gets the ball back even closer. But regardless, I thought it was an interesting weekend for Antonio Pierce, and Raiders fans are upset. Even more interesting, Eberflus, the head coach of the Chicago Bears, with one of the worst coaching meltdowns I've ever seen in my life. Not using the timeout, just totally mishandled the end of that game with the Detroit Lions, cost them a chance to win. He gets fired almost instantly. Who had and obviously it's Eberflus, but of these coaching brain farts, who was the worst?
Well, okay, that's that old question. What would you rather have, syphilis or gonorrhea? Neither's really good, but one guy did get immediately fired after the game, Eberflus. But I want to go through both scenarios. Jason, when I'm watching this game, and I'm a bit of a Detroit Lions homer because of Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, it is almost mathematically impossible, in my view, to go 31 seconds and have a timeout in your back pocket and you don't get 2 plays off. You can almost get 3 plays off. And just think about the probability of not even having a chance to tie the game. They were in the red zone a play before. I've never seen a breakdown like that. My view is Eberflus had to call a timeout immediately because you have a rookie quarterback. And again, yes, you can blame Caleb for trying to change the play. That's the wrong play for that. Your view at that point is you got to try to get 7 or 8 yards back and try to get into overtime. I'm just telling you to actually run out the clock and give Detroit a walk-off incompletion. I've never seen it. That's a historic moment we saw this Thanksgiving. Here's the problem I had with Antonio Pierce. Jason, I don't think it's just about the last play. If you go back to that whole sequence, before the 2-minute warning, he took a timeout. And I'm like, why'd you waste a timeout? And then I guess he said, well, my kicker said he could make it from there. Jason, my understanding is, and I've seen interviews, I've read books on this, during warm-ups, a kicker will go out there based on the surface and the weather, and they'll take some kicks. And then the coach has to find out, hey, what's your range? Is it 50 yards, 55, 60? So you should already know that, hey, am I in field goal range or not? And Jason, that timeout that he wasted, I think at 2:11, guess what? That would have came in handy in the last 15 seconds. And by the way, they overthought the thing. In my view, once Amir Abdullah got the ball and he edged it out, and I said, okay, you're in range now. You know what you do? Don't overthink it. Get to the line. At 3 seconds, chuck it. Neither situation is good, but one guy did lose his job, Eberflus.
I want to move on to something that puts butter in a good light.
Oh, no. Oh, we had to
Russell
bring this
Wilson.
up. Yeah.
Russell Wilson is playing lights out.
He is.
Or at least he did against the Bengals yesterday. 400 yards. That's the best I've seen him look. He was, he looked amazing. And Aaron Rodgers continues to struggle. And I'm just wondering if we had to bet right now, when they're done, and Russell Wilson's 36, Aaron Rodgers, I believe, is 40. When they're done, who's going to have a better reputation, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson?
Okay, look, first of all, Butter, you're good, you. You're good, you. You called it. You don't get a box.
Did you hear Jason's He hesitated to give me that prop today. He hesitated.
No, but I don't. I am a man of honor and integrity. You called it. You were like the Bambino, Babe Ruth. You stepped out of that batter's box. You just pointed to that center field bleachers.
One game.
Okay, but he's actually played pretty well. So you called your shot, Bambino. Now, Aaron Rodgers. Now, you know I'm an admirer, but I've had my criticisms. Jason, last night, I was a little bit bored, so I'm just flipping through Netflix, and I saw this special on one Elvis Aaron Presley, the king. I think you may have heard of him. Had a nice career. So, and I'm watching it, and I started doing a deep dive on Elvis, saw some other videos. Right now, what we are seeing out of Aaron Rodgers is Fat Elvis. It's Fat Elvis.
Yes.
It is. It's not. There is no 1968 comeback concert television special on NBC. I'm not saying that he's prone on his bathroom, just lifeless, but this is Fat Elvis. I mean, it's sad to watch. And the Jets have been in a lot of games. It's not like they're getting blown out 35-3 every week. And there's a particular pattern. He throws an interception, either a pick six, he has a chance to win the game, and it doesn't happen. So, yes, right now it's trending. I hate to say it. Russell Wilson right now might have a better conclusion to his career than Fat Elvis Rodgers.
Man, that is a great analogy.
It is.
I'm very jealous.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very jealous that I did not come up with that. Fat Elvis for Aaron Rodgers. Here's I want to play you a couple of clips. Willie Colon, former Jets offensive lineman, former Pittsburgh Steelers offensive lineman. I used to work with him at Fox Sports. He'd been at Barstool. But here's Willie Colon talking about the smugness of Aaron Rodgers.
Well, that's who Aaron Rodgers is. That's who he's always been. But the problem is that he's always covered that up because of the way he's played, right? You can be smug and cocky, and then you get MVPs. You're in the NFC Championship every year. You're balling. You can make every throw on the field. You can be smug. The problem is his smugness and his arrogance and his play aren't matching up. And the issue right now moving forward is that, listen, if you're a Jets fan, you damn right you have to be upset. Because we all of us have sat through the Zach Wilson era. Mm-hmm. And we were told by Joe Douglas and his regime, once we get Aaron Rodgers, bad times are behind us. They're not. If anything, this is an ultra reset, right? So, yeah, if you're a Jets fan, you have to be damn pissed off at Aaron Rodgers because what Connor said, listen, if we give you the ball, the Aaron Rodgers in game-winning situations, this is Kobe. This should be 88 out the gate. This should be an easy dub for us. And our defense isn't horrible. They became horrible. They started to play bad because of the injuries and the lack of confidence in themselves, especially out of their star players. But if I'm a Jets fan, I'm pissed off at the fact that we fired our head coach, right? And we ended up 1-5 out of that. We got Devontae Adams, and we haven't seen him take over games like we see Justin Jefferson and other elite receivers take over games. I'm looking at a running back who started the season as a top 5 running back. You can't find him on offense. I'm looking at a quarterback who will be wearing a gold jacket one day, right? And he's the worst in the NFL. So if you're the Jets fan, burn the whole damn thing up. Burn the whole building up. Nothing makes sense because you promised me after Achilles that we were going to be better. Everything's worse than it was before.
Man, this Fat Elvis comparison will live in infamy. I can't wait to get this clip out there.
Yeah.
But do you know? Are you an Elvis fan? Do you
I remember Elvis, and I like he said, there's no comeback concert too. That was even a further point where Elvis made his comeback.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers was, the greatest or on that trajectory, and now it's crashing and burning. On the other side of this, what do you make of what's going? I mean, is this a one-off because the Bengals defense? I'm talking about Russell Wilson. The Bengals defense is bad, or is Russell Wilson just getting more and more comfortable and the Steelers right now look like an outside threat to be a problem for someone in the AFC?
Jason, here's what the Steelers do every week, though. They play defense. I never would have thought this, but 5 years ago, J.J. Watt is not the best football player in his own family, and he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, that's a difference maker every single week, it seems like. But what I like about Russell Wilson now, he's just back to being a football player. He's not trying to be a motivational speaker. He's not trying to be Mr. Unlimited. I have not heard about his wife in a while. My belief is that Mike Tomlin has got him back to what he was, the guy that I fell in love with, just a guy that played ball. He may be a little quirky. He may not be for everybody. Maybe he's still a little bit too Carlton Banks for certain players. I get it. But the fact he's just gone back to being a ball player, I think has been immense. Now, you talked about this, Jason, in one of your tweets. If they could ever get George Pickens settled down, they have something there. He has the ability to be a true number one receiver and a game breaker, but he is just so volatile. But if there's one coach that could settle it, because he's been through these situations, it is Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, when I look around, obviously the Baltimore Ravens are far more vulnerable than we anticipated. They certainly seem to have a problem at kicker. And the Buffalo Bills look pretty good. Maybe they're the best team in the AFC. The Chiefs look real beatable. I don't. Pittsburgh could end up being because I'm not impressed with C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. Not as impressed as I was. We could be looking up here in late December, early January, and the Pittsburgh Steelers could be the best team in the AFC, and that would be hats off to Russell Wilson, and it would be hats off to Mike Tomlin. He took some heat for saying, you know what, I see what Justin Fields is doing. I think we can do better. People thought it was unfair for him to bench Justin Fields. What a huge call by Mike Tomlin, and he's being proven right.
If Mike Tomlin brings home another Super Bowl with this particular core, he needs to be given credit not just as a really, really good coach, I think all-time great. And I'll tell you why. It's not the number of Super Bowls. It's going to be hard to surpass Bill Walsh, Chuck Nolan, obviously Belichick. But for the fact that this guy, whose first year, I believe, was 2008 or 9, he's literally never had a losing season. Now, again, not a lot of postseason success the past 7-8 years. I get it. But the Steelers, they have a way of hiring coaches with lasting success, whether it's Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and now Tomlin. And for Tomlin to navigate all the recent personalities and the turbulence, and if he could help rehabilitate Russell Wilson to not, I'm not going to even say Super Bowl, but just get him to where they're winning double-digit games and can be a threat in the playoff. Once again, it's another feather in the cap to a coach that I still don't think gets enough credit.
Butter, seriously, and we all laughed. Russell Wilson's going to win another Super Bowl, you said. Didn't think it would be with Pittsburgh, but now it actually might be with Pittsburgh.
It could be, and I think to some degree, Mike Tomlin, there was talk about Mike Tomlin, even though he's never had a losing season, there was talk of him,
Expiration date.
So Russell Wilson, we're saying he's resurrecting Russell Wilson's career. I'm saying Russell Wilson might be saving Tomlin's career a little bit here.
Wow.
And only in this.
Leave that victory alone, could you just.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I think what they haven't had in Pittsburgh for a long time was a guy that was this solid, this mentally tough, this sure and comfortable with themselves. They've had a lot of guys come and go. Even though Tomlin's been steady, Russell Wilson
Hold on, Butter.
is the steady.
We gotta stay factual.
He's the steadying.
Ben Roethlisberger was their quarterback for like 15 straight years.
I'm saying since Roethlisberger.
Yeah, that's only been 2 or 3 years, but go ahead.
No, it's been.
Roethlisberger only retired 2 or 3 years ago.
All I'm saying, Russell Wilson is a steadying veteran quarterback that's got a lot of game left in him. I like what I'm seeing. And I'm happy for Russell Wilson. When you go look back at the guys and the way he got treated coming out of Seattle, who are you taking now? Sherman, or are you taking Russell Wilson? You know what I'm saying? I like it for him.
Yeah, Roethlisberger's last season was 2021, but you're right. It's what Russell Wilson's doing.
By the time he ended, though, he had been done for 5 years before that.
Guys,
He'd been done for 2 or 3 years, but I hear you. Yep, go ahead.
Before we etch in the Steelers' name on the Lamar Hunt Trophy, there's a team in Buffalo. They're kind of good, okay? Just want to let you know, the Buffalo Bills are going to have a say in all of this. And I'm just going to say it right now. This might actually be Josh Allen's year to get to the soup.
That's a good segue into we have full clarity now on the MVP race. It's Saquon Barkley versus Josh Allen. Both of them pretty impressive over the weekend. Saquon Barkley helping Philadelphia secure, what is that there? Is that 8 in a row now or 7 in a row? 8 in a row right now. Josh Allen in the snow last night. They knock off, they get another victory, knock off the 49ers pretty easily. Steve, who is your MVP headed down the home stretch?
Right now, it's still Saquon. And I want to ask a question. Is the MVP award just about the best quarterback or the best quarterback on the best team or with the best record? Look, Josh Allen has been a highly productive player. I've said this before, Jason and Butter. There's death, taxes, and Josh Allen throwing for right around 4,000 yards and accounting for 40 to 45 touchdowns. That's Hall of Fame production that he's given you for 5, 6, 7 years. This actually is one of his lesser years statistically. And again, I get it. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. But you look at the explosiveness and the extra punch that Barkley has given the Eagles. I'm just going to ask it again. Is the MVP actually about the best football player or just merely the quarterback who happens to be on the best team?
Well, I think you can make a case for both of these guys. I lean towards Saquon Barkley because I'm part of that is I'm just tired of a quarterbacks getting the MVP every year. It's just not a good system we've devised. Whoever's got the best record and their quarterback MVP, I disagree with that. And I think with Saquon Barkley, I think with Derrick Henry, I think with Josh Jacobs has proven the value of the running back. So I'm all in on Saquon Barkley. However, let's evaluate the last 4 or 5 games before we just hand it to him because Josh Allen is having another marvelous season. And I can't even – who would be our third candidate at this point? It's not Lamar. It's not Derrick Henry. T.J. Watt gets double-teamed so much in Pittsburgh that, he won't ever be – he's not able to put up the 23, 24 sacks that it would take to make a defensive end MVP. Jared Goff, I can't do it. But I think it's just these two guys. It's a 2-horse race. And I can't disagree. If someone said it was Josh Allen, I couldn't put up a strong disagreement. Someone agreed with me and thought it was Saquon Barkley. Obviously, I cannot disagree there. Steve, I got one more NFL top. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at this. If Saquon Barkley rushes for 2,000 yards in this era, I think it's almost impossible. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the last running back to win the MVP was Adrian Peterson in 2012. And I believe that season he had over 2,000 yards rushing. I'll just leave it at that.
Hope Saquon does better with his money than AP did. Final.
God,
we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but I did want to bring it up. Kirk Cousins threw 4 interceptions yesterday. They drafted a quarterback in the first round. Kirk Cousins, I believe, has 17 TDs, 13 interceptions. Atlanta sits atop at 6-6. The NFC South, is that what it is? The NFC South.
Yeah.
They sit atop the NFC South at 6-6. Would you go to Michael Penix here, or do you stay the course? You're in first place in your division. You're still in the playoff hunt. Do you stick with Kirk Cousins, or do you turn to your rookie quarterback?
Well, look, the last 3 weeks have been horrible, but I don't know if Kirk Cousins' arm has gone Justin Tucker's leg. I don't know. Maybe he's just hit a slump. Remember this. The plan was for Michael Penix to have a redshirt year, much the way Steve McNair did in his early run as a Houston Oiler behind Chris Chandler. Now, keep this in mind. Michael Penix is older than your average rookie. I believe he's 24 or 25. But that doesn't necessarily make him ready to play. Given the fact that the South is pretty mediocre, not quite as mediocre as the West, but all those teams are kind of bunched in around 500, I would give Cousins another week or two to kind of work out of this funk.
I agree. I think you stay the course. You made a commitment that this was going to be your strategy to give this kid a redshirt year or two. I think
yes.
I think they were thinking more Aaron Rodgers, the way he sat behind
Jordan
Brett
Love.
Favre and put Jordan Love and putting this guy in position when he's really, really ready. I think you stay the course. Again, the AFC South or the NFC South is horrendous. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 6-6, and New Orleans and Carolina both garbage. Steve, I want to go back to college football and circle back to Michigan, Ohio State. Ohio State comes into that game ranked number 2 in the country. It's Ryan Day's having this great year. He's going to put all his critics to bed. They're going to knock off Michigan. They're 24-point favorites. Ohio State is still headed for the playoffs. But is Ryan Day's job in jeopardy at this point if he loses his first-round playoff game?
Short of winning the national title, I believe his job is in jeopardy. It's not even just about winning a game. He has to hoist up that trophy. Jason, as I watched the end of that game at JB's Football Palooza, I said to myself, I hate to say it because I actually like Ryan Day. He has become modern-day John Cooper. And I looked up his record, Jason. He's 66-10, which on the surface is very good. He's won some Big Ten titles, a perennial top 5 to 10 team. They've actually played for the national title. They should have beat Georgia a couple years ago. But 4 out of his 10 losses are to one team, the Wolverines, and 4 in a row, which is almost like a death sentence. And, Jason, you were probably covering all this. I remember John Cooper won a Rose Bowl at Arizona State. He was the hottest coaching candidate. And then 2 years later, he replaces Earl Bruce. People forget how loaded those Ohio State teams were by the mid-90s. I mean, we're talking Joey Galloway, Terry Glenn, Eddie George, Andy Katzenmoyer, Sean Springs. I mean, NFL guys all over. And I thought there was at least 2 years they should have won the national title. They were every bit as good as any team in the country, whether it was Florida, Florida State, or Nebraska. But what couldn't he do consistently or not nearly enough? Could not beat Michigan. I remember in 95, they were undefeated. And Timmy Biakabatuka, remember that name, rushed for 300 yards. 96, he coached so scared, kept rotating his quarterbacks. It was Stanley Jackson and Bobby Hoying. One loss of the year. Then in 98, now they lost to Michigan State that year. And it was the one year I said, wow, they are head and shoulders better than everybody. When I watched that game plan on Saturday, Jason, Ryan Day ran what I call the Rush Limbaugh offense. That was so conservative. I've never seen an offense with that many weapons outside where you're throwing a bunch of 6-yard hitches and you're running the ball on 3rd and 8. And I said, you are coaching so scared. And this is the bad part, which really is a killer for Ryan Day this season. This is the worst Michigan team in a few years. And they didn't have their best cornerback in Will Johnson, top 10 pick. They didn't have their best offensive player on a bad offense, Colston Lovelace, their tight end, who's going to be drafted. You lost to a walk-on quarterback that tried to give you the ball game back at the 1-yard line, and you lost at home. Jason, it's unfair, but that's the business we're in. Ryan Day does not win a national title. I believe he may not be the coach in Columbus next season.
Who replaces him? You know, it's one thing to get rid of him,
right.
but you got to have someone that you know can get the job done. It's not like, hey, let's get Lincoln Riley. Well, Lincoln Riley's having problems at USC, or you know, who do you get?
Okay. Everyone's talking about Vrabel. Vrabel's actually on those great 90s teams of John Cooper. Okay, so Vrabel is an obvious candidate, but I'm not so sure he just wants to actually be a college coach with all this NIL and transfer portal thing. There's a question mark about that. Okay, desperate times call for desperate measures, do they not, Jason? I know the guy. We got to go back to the future. Urban renewal. Bring back Urban Meyer. Telling you, you couldn't do it a couple years ago.
Why
you might do it now. Telling you.
You know why that's a possibility, actually? Because cancel culture's been canceled. And
there you go.
Elon Musk tweeted that out or posted that on X over the weekend, and that whole little woke, oh my God, what about the assistant coach's wife? And he didn't step in, and he didn't. That stuff is all out the window. There's no place to, old Twitter, you used to be able to create the impression like this was a crime against humanity, and how did he not know what was going on in the personal life of an assistant coach? You can't do that now, and so you can bring Urban Meyer back without the...
He needs a rebound girlfriend too himself. You know what I mean?
Don't we all?
Urban Meyer?
Urban renewal.
He needs a rebound. He needs a rebound girl to get back into the game.
Yeah, after that Jacksonville fiasco. But I wonder if Urban Meyer would be interested. He's got nothing better to do. I mean, he sits on Fox. He clearly has the coaching bug. That's why he went down to Jacksonville. But that's an interesting one. And I do think Urban Meyer would be effective in this era of name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal and all that. I'm someone that likes Urban Meyer. I even think the stories about him in Jacksonville are exaggerated, but what do I know? Steve, I'm going to move on to the Heisman Trophy race in college football. Travis Hunter, to me, has been anointed as the Heisman Trophy winner by most of the mainstream media. I think it's an injustice to Ashton Jeanty, the running back at Boise State. I do think if I had to vote one way or the other, I'm probably 51% Travis Hunter, 49% Jeanty. But I do think the way the media has argued this and declared Hunter the MVP, and if you don't vote Hunter, somehow you're racist or you're unfair. That's what I haven't liked. But, anyway, I probably lean 51% Travis Hunter, but I think the way the campaign and the race has unfolded in the media has been unfair to the Boise State running back.
I agree, but that's the difference between being in a P4 and being in a group of 5 school. Now, Jeanty will have a really good NFL career if he stays healthy. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Kijana Carter, who I thought was destined to have a great NFL career till he blew out his knee, his second carry as a professional. Jason, I recall when I was growing up, it was the 1987 year when Tim Brown won it. And in essence, it went like this. They played an early season game at Notre Dame, and Michigan State was the opponent. And Tim Brown, in front of a national audience on ESPN, took back 2 punts. And at that point, the Heisman Trophy race was over because the whole national media said that guy from Notre Dame, number 81, that's your Heisman Trophy guy. And you look at his numbers, and they were okay. I don't even think he was really as consistently good as Rocket Ismail, who, by the way, actually didn't win it in a year I thought he should have. So I think there's a lot to what you say. The media members did not want to have the blowback because if you give any criticism of Colorado in certain circles, you get branded, you get labeled. Then you might get on the bad side of Coach Prime. So there goes your access. But with that being said, I have to give Travis Hunter credit. What he's doing may never be done to this degree again. I remember also in that era, Gordy Lockbaum was given a lot of credit for going both ways, but he played at Holy Cross, and he was not nearly the athlete that Travis Hunter is. Truth be told, if I was a Heisman voter, my number 1 ballot, my check mark, would go to number 12 with the Colorado Buffaloes, though.
So it's funny. You made me look up. Tim Brown caught 880 receiving yards the year he won the Heisman. He actually had more receiving yards the year before. Don McPherson, the quarterback at Syracuse, finished number 2. Gordy Lockbaum at Holy Cross, 3. Third. Lorenzo White, 4.
Michigan State.
Lorenzo rushed for 1,400 yards and 14. Craig Hayward at Pitt was 5, 1,600 rushing yards, 11 TDs. Chris Spillman, who probably, of all these guys, Chris Spillman could have been the Heisman Trophy winner. Thurman Thomas finished 7th. You know who finished 9th? I got a name for you who finished 9th. He was a freshman running back out of the University of Florida.
Emmitt Smith. Yes.
So that's I like your comparison. The next year, Barry Sanders won the Heisman. I don't think there's much controversy there.
Jason.
The year, yeah.
In 1987, it's interesting about Don McPherson. He actually led an undefeated Syracuse team. And if there was a 14 playoff, that, not forget a 12, they would have been in it. And nowadays, there's so much in terms of this Heisman about did your team actually win? Because now losses are held against you in an individual award. So Colorado going 9-3, which is a steep, massive upgrade, helps Travis Hunter's cause. But I remember that Notre Dame team ended up with 3 losses, I believe. Ended up losing to Miami late after an early season loss, and they lost to A&M in the bowl game, which I know is after the season. But that Syracuse team ended up tying in the Sugar Bowl against the really rough, rugged Auburn team. That was an 11-0-1 team with a quarterback who had a great year running that Dick McPherson freeze option. He came in 2nd. That's where the Notre Dame bias, I think, was really in play for that particular campaign.
Anyway, I think Jeanty's case of he's led his team to the playoffs as long as they knock off UNLV is pretty strong.
Yeah, it is.
But it just doesn't matter. And final deal here on Travis Henry. I don't know how much of that Oklahoma State game you watched. Travis Hunter.
I did.
I don't know how much of that Oklahoma State game you watched, but they threw him a touchdown pass up 45-0. And it's the stat padding. And Jeanty didn't play in the fourth quarter of several games this year. Didn't play in the second half, I believe, of at least one game. They didn't seem to do the kind of stat padding at Boise State that has gone on with Travis Hunter. Not trying to diminish Travis Hunter. He played both ways. Excellent player on both sides of the ball. But the stat padding, the way they've gone about it, the unfair campaign, Deion clearly doing things to pad his stats, that's what makes me a tiny bit uncomfortable.
Right, Jason. But here's the issue. If you're Colorado and you're the Buffalo football program and you're Deion Sanders, wouldn't you do the same thing? The value of having a Heisman Trophy at that program just a couple years after they're 1-11, And the last time they won a Heisman Trophy was 1994 with Rashaan Salam, and I don't even think they've had a finalist since, to be honest with you. The intrinsic value that would bring, not only to Travis Hunter, but to the whole institution, Jason, I don't blame him one bit.
Final thought, question, topic here, Steve. Who's number 12? Because of this convoluted playoff system they've adopted in college football, we're left to debate who's number 12, who gets the final slot in the college football playoff. That is conceding. Here's the teams we're putting in: Oregon, Texas,
yes,
Arizona State, the winner of SMU Clemson, Notre Dame, the winner of Boise State UNLV, Penn State, Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, and Tennessee. Who's number 12? That's 11 teams. Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss, South Carolina, or SMU if they lose.
I'm going to go with the pick that's going to surprise you. It's not Miami. They couldn't stop a leaky faucet on defense. They would just get blown out by whoever they played. Let's just be honest about it. They need a new defensive coordinator. I'd like to get one by today. South Carolina. And I get it. I know they lost to Bama. I know they got throttled by Ole Miss. But if you're talking about who's one of the best 12 teams right now, and you're talking about momentum, and this is about the now, how would they do in a tournament? They have a young quarterback by the name of Lenora Sellers, who's a runaway locomotive. Jason, he gives me Vince Young vibes. And he will be a Heisman Trophy candidate in the next year or two. He's a special talent. Also, defensively up front with Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart and LJ Stewart, they have an ability to rush with 4 men. They are demons up front. I like that team and that big win against a very good
South Carolina
team.
lost to Alabama.
They did. But again, it's not just about head-to-head matchups, though. They take in other factors. That's why I'll admit I'm probably in the minority. But if you're saying who is one of the best 12 teams right now based on what they've done recently and momentum, I would go with the Gamecocks, believe it or not.
Scroll up. I want to see Miami's case. Scroll up for me. Up the other direction. Miami scores a lot of points. They got Cam Ward, a Heisman Trophy guy. Ole Miss, they're 9-3. They beat, scroll up for me, they beat Georgia and South Carolina. South Carolina, 6 straight wins. Somehow if SMU loses and becomes an 11-2 team, they're on the bubble. I'm not sure if they can get in if they lose to Clemson.
Jason,
but
what is
South
going
Carolina,
to kill?
That's tough.
The game that's going to really stick with South Carolina, if they are left out, is that early season loss to LSU. That's a game they were up big early, and then Sellers got hurt, and there was this terrible penalty on a pick 6 because someone hit a quarterback after an INT. Nussmeier ran into a defender. It completely shifted the whole game, and then South Carolina missed the kick late. So those things matter. So that's a loss in September that's going to have reverberations all the way in December. But again, I know I'm the minority, but I like the way this Gamecock squad is trending. That's my point.
Steve, I'm done with you.
I'm going to miss you picking on Miami after
Yeah.
the season's over.
I'm not.
Hopefully JB's right and they'll play Colorado in the Holiday Bowl. That would actually be kind of fun. But I think the Holiday Bowl may be on December 27th. I got a rehearsal dinner. I got to be at it on the 27th.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's not lucky because tomorrow, guys, for the audience, I'm gonna do some more investigating, and then I'm gonna figure out a way to send 2 fans to the game at my expense. I'll get the tickets. I'll get the airfare. I'll get the hotel. I'll figure out a way to, if I can't go, someone's got to go in my stead. And so maybe I'll send 1 fan and they can take their wife or girlfriend or best friend, or maybe I'll send 2 different people. I got to figure that out.
Send me and Steve.
You and Steve?
Yeah, we'll go.
Send you and Steve, huh? No, I don't think. hop in the chats and tell Shemeka, would you rather me send Steve and Butter, or would you rather me send one of you all?
Let's Miami's not playing.
How do you think
I'm not
that's
going to
gonna work
Holiday
out?
Bowl. Guys, bottom line, if Miami's not in the Holiday Bowl, I'm not going to any bowl game. That's just the reality of it. I can't watch that Miami defense anymore. I've had enough. I'm done.
Thank you, Steve. Before we get to Shemeka, a couple other topics in the chat. Guys, I want to talk to you about Preborn, our great friends at Preborn. You guys know that it's part of our mission here at Fearless to save unborn children, to prevent them from being aborted by confused women. No organization does a better job of this than Preborn. Preborn provides expectant mothers an ultrasound. That ultrasound introduces that baby to the mother through a heartbeat, through a sonogram with an image. Once that mother is introduced to that baby via ultrasound, she is now twice as likely to choose life, and that's when Preborn steps up, steps in, provides her the assistance she needs up to 2 years after the baby is delivered. Preborn is amazing. It's part of our worldview that life begins at conception. There's 2 ways for us to support Preborn, or there's 1 way. We donate money. They use that money to provide ultrasounds to women and help them through the pregnancy and through the baby's first 2 years of life. The money isn't wasted. This isn't one of these organizations that has a bunch of executives making a bunch of money and got summer homes or winter homes in Florida or whatever. This money pays for ultrasounds. 1 ultrasound costs $28. 5 costs $140. Whether you give $28 or $2,800 or $28,000 or $2.80, it all goes to a great cause. Right now, we're looking for leadership gifts. We're looking for people, men willing to step up and women willing to step up and sponsor 24 hours of Preborn's network and operation. That's an opportunity to save 200 babies' lives. $5,000 is a leadership gift that allows Preborn to do everything it does for a 24-hour period, saving 200 babies a day. 2 ways to give: pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or give the way that I prefer to give: preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. Shemeka Michelle, X. Welcome to Extra Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Oh my God, Lyndon Johnson, his thoughts are so disgusting. I can't believe you would engage with him. The celebration for being a slut have never been greater. Why do you choose Taylor Swift, and why do you pick up a role as, let me help my woman undress on stage in front of an audience?
When I look at people like Sexy Red or Cardi B that we prop up, now I see that the white community as well is just as fried.
It does look to me like he made some eye contact with her and then just decided, nah, let me move on. The BET Award seems like a psyop at this point. It's just Democratic brainwashing. Get in there and fight for all the things. Steve, that's it for you. I'm done. Welcome back. Shemeka, let's start here. You're a parent. You have 3 daughters. Joe Biden just pardoned one of his children, Hunter Biden, from all of his crimes or potential crimes from 2014 to 2024, a decade worth of pardon for Hunter Biden given by his dad, Joe Biden. Joe Biden had previously said, won't ever do it. Not me, won't ever do it. Let's watch a video of the White House proclaiming that Joe Biden would never pardon his son. Play the clip.
Second one, would the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear, and I said no.
Okay. Let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Again, you've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute the sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
No sometimes means yes. Shemeka, as a parent, your thoughts?
You know, as a parent, I probably would pardon my child, Jason, just to be honest. But also, I would tell you that I was going to do it. That's the type of person that I am, that I would say, you know, I probably will pardon my child. And I feel like that's the type of person Trump is. If he was going to do something, he would just tell you that's what he's going to do. I think that's the problem that most people have with Biden, is that he's been telling a lie, knowing that he was going to do it the entire time. And there are other people who deserve a pardon. We have Beverly Beatty, who is actually serving 3 years in federal prison for protesting outside of an abortion clinic, who, when Biden took office, the charges were trumped up literally because she had no run-in with the police during the day in question. We had, you know, all of the J6ers. Matthew Perner committed suicide because of the scrutiny he was given by the DOJ. So I just think that what's happening is unfair, and just because Biden is a liar, that's what we're seeing. If he was going to do it, he should have said he was going to do it, and then there should be a list of other people who have been railroaded under his administration.
I thought Donald Trump was the biggest liar in politics ever, and he's the one that had to be fact-checked at every turn. Isn't Trump a liar? And maybe what Joe Biden has done here is just a little white lie, whereas Trump tells black lies. Black lives matter, not white lies.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And it's so funny, Jason, because when they were running in 2020, I, in Nashville, sang White Liar to Joe Biden, because that's exactly what he is, you know. And I just, it's so crazy to me that they've been calling Trump a dictator, but this was like a true dictator move. And I don't even necessarily think it was for his crackhead son. I also think he's trying to free himself for the things that he's done. Remember, he's the big guy. And they told us for so long that all of the laptop stories, you know, it was a lie, it wasn't real. But now we know that the laptop story is real. And so we can definitely believe Joe Biden is the big guy that Hunter was always referring to.
Shemeka, before we get to the chat, I want to play another clip that I found interesting. The actress, or they call them actors now. They call women actors. They don't call them actors.
Get it right.
Yeah, I don't know. The actress, Jenifer Lewis, she's been in a couple movies that I've actually seen, but she was on Stephen A. Smith's show, and man, did she have a rant about Donald Trump and what about black men and what's the matter with us? How dare you vote for Donald Trump? It's one of the most amazing reactions to the recent election, but let's play Jenifer Lewis, and I want to get your reaction.
Oh, honey. Oh, honey. When your favorite niece and your 13-year-old daughter is raped by your alcoholic brother or the next door neighbor, and she tries to abort that baby inside of her from a rape, you're going to regret that. They want to keep women in their place. It's so disgusting. I can't even put words to them voting for her. They didn't vote for her, didn't vote because she was a woman. They didn't care that she was smart and powerful, educated, beautiful, kind, joyful, fearless. She would have taken care of this country. She would have protected the people. She would have surrounded herself with great minds. But keeping women in their place was more important to them. And black men, that was just shocking because, honey, he's going to give the military and the police permission to shoot you in your back, and there will be no immunity.
There would be immunity, but I get her point. Listen, there's a fuller clip, and she sounds deranged, but I'm going to argue a little bit the other side in terms of she's 67 years old, and I'm not saying that she lived the color purple experience, but there are a lot of black women who think they live the color purple experience, or know their friends that have been in abusive relationships or whatever, and they've just bought into a negative narrative on black men and on family, the nuclear family. She represents an age group of black women who don't like black men, think marriage is a negative institution that favors men, and wants to live in a world where they don't have to bow to the authority, the leadership of men. And she's not alone in that delusion. And so, as crazy as she sounds, I do think she represents the point of view of a lot of black women.
Yeah, to use her own words against her, ain't nobody got time for that. She sounds delusional, Jason, and you gave the perfect word. And the problem is, we know this isn't true, and someone should hold black women, even in that age group, they should hold their feet to the fire and say, stop telling lies. The idea that every black man is running around controlling black women, raping black women, mistreating black women, not giving them a voice, even in that age group, is absurd. It's not true. I know plenty of people. I have aunts that are in their 80s. That's not their experience. My grandmother is 90. That's not their experience. And so I do think that they act as if this is the color purple age and every black woman has had to deal with that. And it's just not true. Have some black women dealt with that? Absolutely. But you don't know 9 out of 10 women. That's not the statistics. And it just bothers me that we've gotten so comfortable with lies and we've gotten so scared of correcting black women. We watched Stephen A. Smith not correct her one time. Not only did he not correct her, but he went as far as to let her know, I voted for Kamala. Like he was scared. And I'm tired of seeing black men have to cower to not just black women, but to the lies they constantly tell on black men. This false narrative that's painted, I'm tired of hearing it because it's having a negative effect on the black community and young black women coming up. When you constantly see a several generation of women saying, I don't need a man, it's really bad because they're not stopping having kids. They're just not having them in the right way.
I'm a mix of emotions because obviously I'm someone unafraid to correct myself or anybody, and but that Jenifer Lewis and a lot of black women exist in a time where they're never corrected, ever. And so I look at her and I feel sorry. She she believes delusional things, but I'm sure she lives in a bubble where she's used to dealing with men like Stephen A. Smith, who will never be caught on tape correcting a black woman because they're so fearful of the backlash from that. Either men are so controlled by their penises and it's, oh, I'm going to lose access to her vagina, so don't let me say anything. And I know Stephen A. is not trying to sleep with Jenifer Lewis, but he's thinking perhaps about all the women that like Jenifer Lewis, think like her, would see him correcting her as, don't you dare mansplain to that black woman. She's 67 and blah, 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 blah. But it's the lack of correction is what's creating the delusion. And it's tough, it's difficult, but they have to be stood up to and corrected. And it's just a shame that we have so many weak men, black and white, and it's actually dissipating. I just saw Jasmine Crockett and then the bald-headed woman, Ayanna Presley or whatever, I think that's her name.
Yes.
Did I get that name right? Yeah,
Yes.
The bald-headed woman in Congress or whatever. I just saw a white dude from Texas that was in Congress. He stood up to the bald-headed woman and called her out on her BS. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Look at this white man. He ain't scared. And as black men, we have to get in that mentality and realize what time we're in right now. These women have to be corrected. If left uncorrected, we all suffer the consequences.
Absolutely. And these are the same women that claim they are standing up for the rights of women. If you really care about women, tell them the difference between right and wrong. Lead these young girls in a better direction. If you understand how hard it was for you to be a single mother or be out here by yourself, start teaching these young girls and young guys that, hey, we did it the wrong way. You are better together. It is better for you to get married and have children and raise these children under the same household, because we were sold a lie. We believed it and it didn't work. You know, I had a friend, we were talking the other day, and he was just saying how women are, you know, we're like butter knives. Can we operate sometimes as a screwdriver? Yes. But is that what we were made to do? No. And so when you see so many women out here operating as screwdrivers, some of them are bitter and angry because they know they are operating in a place that they're not supposed to. And so if we want to actually help women, we will start to tell these young girls the truth. What you've been hearing is a lie. You're a butter knife, and you need you a screwdriver for those screwdriver things. Can you do it? Possibly, sometimes, but that's not what you were made for. And you will be happier and things will run more efficiently if everybody, acts the way they're supposed to. And that's just what needs to happen.
Play your role, play your position. Shemeka, what was popping in the chats today?
Well, Jason, there were a few men that feel like I need to go to the bowl game with them. I just wanted you to know that when you put that out there.
I was one of them.
That's
Butter
what
and
came
Shemeka
up.
to the bowl game.
Yeah, I put my name in the hat, let me tell you.
Yeah,
Not
and
gonna happen, but anyway, go ahead.
Somebody said, Jason, though, that you need to be a man and stand on your word and show up. That's what they said in the chat.
Okay, hold for 1 second. Hold, and we'll circle back to this tomorrow if people are still listening. There's a wedding that I'm participating in on December 28th. Should I skip the wedding to go to a bowl game? I'm asking Shemeka. I don't know why Shemeka was just taking off camera.
Whose wedding is it? You were already scheduled for that? Or did you just say, oh yeah, by the way?
No.
Okay.
No. This is basically a family members, they're redoing their 50-year vows. I couldn't be more close to the entire family. And I'm giving away the bride. I'm not a small part of the wedding.
Then I think you have to definitely attend the wedding and I guess do a show in Colorado gear, top to bottom.
Well, I could do a week in Colorado gear. That's no problem. But I feel like I need to send someone in my place to go to the bowl game. A person.
Two quick things. Shemeka, have you ever heard somebody so happy to have to go to a rehearsal dinner? I never have. I mean, just thanking God there's a... But look, if you do have to do the wedding, what if you aficionate it in Colorado gear?
Do the wedding in Colorado gear?
Yeah, give away the bride in Colorado gear. That would be a good trade.
You know what? They might allow me to do that. They might allow me to do that. Anyway, next.
So there were a lot of men agreeing in the chat that football is supposed to be masculine and that there is an attack on masculinity. The SB says Jesus was toxically masculine according to today's standards. He destroyed the tables and trinkets of the vendors in the temple. Zion said the world needs to stop being offended when men do men stuff like defending their house. Pont Flair says they play a violent game and people gasp when it gets chippy now. LMFAO. So they're agreeing that football needs to stay masculine.
Good stuff. Next.
ATL Sarman says, ask Jason if Colorado started a brawl, if he would be okay with that. Philip Rouse.
Let me ask. If Colorado started a brawl, would I be okay with it?
That's a funny position on a question.
Yeah, that's a good question. It all depends on the context. If Shedeur were out trolling another team the way Michigan was trolling Ohio State, again, what I've been consistent here is like, Michigan's out here trolling, and they got a response from Ohio State. Let's quit pretending like Ohio State's the bad guys. So I don't even see this as, if Colorado started a brawl because they were trolling somebody, I'd say the same thing about them that I'm saying about Michigan, but I hear you. Next.
Philip says, would y'all be running around talking about the rules of the rules if that play happened to a Lamar Jackson or Shedeur Sanders? You guys never keep the same energy.
Hold on. I got to hear that again. Would you all be talking about the rules if we defended JB defended the defender?
Yeah.
I basically defended the defender. Mm-hmm. And so is he saying if it was Shedeur or Lamar, we would be criticizing the defender? I don't. These people that are looking for some kind of racial, I got you, he's twisted his brain into a pretzel. We're actually the defender who just happens to be black and hit a white quarterback. The show basically defended the defender, but somehow he's turned this into a racial deal. Do better, brother. Do better. Put your thinking cap on. Sleep on it tonight. Do better. Next.
Ronnie wanted to know if we've seen the guy on YouTube that calls himself the Korean Cosell. He says, what a poser. And I looked him up. He actually goes by the Asian Cosell. So it's a bit different. I just wanted him to know that because he didn't like it.
Someone has stolen my Korean Cosell nickname?
Well, he goes by the Asian Cosell, and he has a full YouTube channel where he offers commentary on sports and politics. So,
celebrity boxing match. Who gets the title?
Yeah. I think I'll take Steve Kim in that. But imitation is the highest form of flattery. Consider Steve Kim and myself flattered. Next.
Dre Day Solo says, let Jason know playing football is like joining the military. You know what you're signing up for and what could happen.
Yes, I think that's the point we made today. Final chat, and then we got to go.
Okay. Oh, so hard, Jason. Can I have two?
Yes.
Okay. Kaiser left a super chat. He said, what do Oklahoma State and Ball State have in common? Both got blasted in their final games to finish 3-9. Go out on a limb, Butter. Steelers going to Super Bowl.
Yeah. Ball State and Oklahoma State both trash this year. And Pittsburgh does have a chance at the Super Bowl. All right, final chat.
Last one, Jason. I wasn't going to say it, but I felt like it was necessary. Tom Smith says, man up football. Then he said, Jason, pay Shemeka. Hashtag Team Shemeka. And Butter, if you are not a catcher or a welder, turn your hat around. Please, God is good.
Oh, is this a contract negotiation? Are you not getting paid? What is he talking about?
Pay her. She put it right out in the public negotiations.
Yeah, she's going full Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, I like it.
She's going full Stephen A. Smith here, public negotiation.
Why they got to take me down to help her negotiate
I
though?
have no idea. He's just kissing butt, trying to get in Shemeka's DMs. Shemeka, thank you, and thank you all for watching. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all this moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be, I wanna be, I wanna be, I just want